Hey everyone, it's Emmanuel here. You're a certified body code practitioner, certified group energy facilitator. I'm so glad you guys are chiming in. And it is 5 p.m., actually 11 minutes past 5 p.m. I was on a really cool session that I was helping someone out. And so I'm here. So thank you guys for waiting for me. And what we're doing today is we want to talk again. We want to do this and add value Monday and Thursday. So, and to be honest, whether you're a male or a female, you're definitely going to appreciate this message. Why? Because maybe you're a female who appreciates the holistic lifestyle, you appreciate energy medicine, but your husband is kind of on the iffy, or he wishes he could be in an environment that can preserve his masculinity, and he can't find it anywhere. Yes, there's some men retreats and stuff you can do, but does it really provide like powerful life coaching and subconscious healing together? I don't know. Maybe it doesn't. So what we want to do is I want to invite Bob on here and have him talk to us. And as time goes on, there might be people that show up on here, and we can maybe volunteer our time to see if we can do a session for you or do a life coaching for you. That's more Bob's expertise. But yeah, let's go. And we might even have just an interview on here. That way you guys can just hear us kind of what we've seen in our different practices, So without further ado, I'm so excited. Bob's a very renowned certified life coach. He's someone very sought after. He has dozens and dozens of testimonials of the way that he communicates with men. He also communicates with women too, but he just loves working with men. He loves helping them have breakthroughs. And it's just someone that I truly admire. And so I'm going to get him on here real quick, and we'll get started. So while we're waiting here, for those of you, I just made a cool announcement too, where we want to give back to people. So I will talk about it at the end, that if you'd like to refer someone to us, we'd love to reward you for someone who joins our 90-day transformational program. And so, hey, Bob, how are you?
Hello, my friend.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir. Am I coming through?
Yeah, you're good. You're good to go, buddy. Nice to see you.
Yeah, you sound great.
Yeah, I think I sound better like this than without my headphones. What do you think? Is it clear?
Sounds clear as a bell. It's great. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I think from now on, I'm not going to use my headphones. I'm just going to just talk to my laptop and just see how it goes.
Here, I'm gonna
So anyway, I was speaking highly of you, so just get used to that stuff. And
oh man, that's scary stuff, my friend.
I know, dangerous territory. But yeah, I'd love for you to kind of introduce yourself again. But we're gonna kind of take a little sidestep here. Maybe you can, without putting out anybody on blast of your clients that you've helped out, but maybe you can share with people maybe like 2 examples of breakthroughs that you've seen, that you're like, this person was here, point A, and they went to point B. This other person went point A to point Z, whatever. Just maybe you can kind of share 2 stories that I think people want to hear. People want to hear like how people are changing with your mentorship.
Sure, I'd love to. And then if anyone wants to actually get the coach tonight and have a breakthrough tonight, we could do that live real time, which would be, amazing and always super fun. So just 2 quick stories. There's a really fun one that comes to mind. It was the very first session I did with this guy. He had about 40 years, imagine this, about 40 years worth of family photos that he wanted to digitize, that his daughters were asking him, begging him, pleading with him, please get these digitized. Please get them digitized. He had just boxes and boxes. If you can imagine like those big tubs from those big plastic bins from Walmart, he had like bins and bins of those in the closet, and he hadn't got to them for over 3.5 years. So they just been sitting in the closet for over 3.5 years. And so he contacted me, and I've never coached anybody on this before, right? But coaching is coaching. But after the first session, within the first session, what he realized, his big block, his big hang up, was that he was worried about rejection. Meaning, like, if I put all these together and then hand them over to my daughters, is this going to be rejected? Is this going to be accepted? And so he was already rejecting the offering ahead of time, if you can imagine. So it's almost like he was afraid of failing, and he didn't realize that. And so therefore he was producing failure in that by not even moving forward on the project that he really wanted to do and that his family wanted him to do. So once we saw that breakthrough, it was a massive breakthrough for him. So he signed with me to do, coaching services. So this is just in our initial call. And then after the next week, then when we coached again, he was about 50% complete on a project that he had been delaying for over 3.5 years. And he had massive momentum, super excited, and just ready to roll. So it was super great, super fun. One other, yeah. So one other quick one is there's another guy, first time I coached with him. He was doing really well in his life. He made, good money. He had, a beautiful wife and a new son, and just had, from the outside looking in, it looks like he kind of had everything put together, if you can imagine. But he just felt completely stuck and frustrated inside, and he couldn't figure out why. And so as we went down a layer and then another layer and then another layer, what really came out for him was that he wasn't allowing himself to have negative emotions, to feel negative emotions about his life or about his family. So like he wouldn't allow himself to be frustrated about either of those things. And so because he didn't allow the emotions to come, to be okay with those, he was keeping himself stuck, and he didn't even realize he was keeping himself stuck. And he was pointing towards his family to say, if they could behave differently or do this differently, or this could happen differently, then I wouldn't feel so bad about my life. But as soon as we had that coaching session, it just totally freed him up. He over the next, couple of weeks, his family relationships, took off and were so much better than they had been before. He felt so free and good, in fact, that at work, he became the #1 sales guy in the region and made more money than he'd ever made before, and the #2 guy in the country. So it just tells you, like, freeing up some of these blocks it's almost like dropping the dead weight that's there. It's like, why are we carrying this stuff around, right? And we don't even realize we're carrying this around. So it's less about like latching on to this, supreme ideal and just positive thinking it, over and over and over. I think it's more about like, let's recognize what's in our way. Let's recognize the blockages and let's clear those out of the way so they don't have to be with us anymore. So yeah, those are just a couple of examples that come to mind.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Like I said, I love stories, me personally, because, when I hear someone goes from point A to point B, I always think about two. I always say, the first question I ask myself is, if Bob wasn't there to coach you, would you have received the same results that you just recently saw, And it reminds me of a question that my dad, he was talking to me, and him as a self-employed oncologist, he owns his own practice, everything. He just recently sold it, but he for a while he was his own self-employed a person there. I said, hey Dad, do you think I'm charging enough for my services? And I never changed it because of him, but he's like, no, you're not charging enough. And I was like, whoa. I was like, well, why do you say that? And he said, well, think about it. He's like, are you helping people out with depression, anxiety, triggers? I was like, yeah, I do help people with that. He's like, do you know how expensive depression, anxiety, and triggers are to someone's life? And he really made me realize what Oscar Wilde once said, the great poet. He said that people know the price of everything, but know the value of nothing, And it's really, really true. If you think about it, how, like when people say, how much is that TV over there? It's $1,000. That's not how much it costs. It costs over $100,000. Why? Because you spent so much time in front of it that you had a $90,000 idea that you put it on hold because TV was more important than your dream, So it really makes sense. Like my dad looked at it like, no, it's depression, anxiety, and triggers can be so paralyzing that who knows what they could have done if they didn't have those symptoms. So they should pay more for your services because whatever they're going to pay you is going to be way cheaper than the price they're about to pay having those symptoms continue,
Yeah. And it's not something that we think about just normally or in normal life typically, right? We don't think about the long-term, the value. What if I change this now? Like if I don't change this, what's the pain of not changing this right now? But if I do change it, what's the benefit of changing that now? And so so for men especially, and you maybe will resonate with this too, is it's almost like not until the pain becomes strong enough to where it's like, oh my gosh, now I know I have a real problem in my life. Now I know I need to do something about it. But I guess my message is that I went to that place, and what I'm really wanting to do with the men that we're going to coach is to say, let's not go to that place. Let's back that way up and then save decades of your life by coming and spending days with me and Emmanuel. Like let's shave off the decades and really start creating the life that you want, and really start feeling the way that you want to, so you can show up the way that you want to and create more money, more health, more time, more fun, more fulfillment, all those things that we really want to experience in life, in this precious, precious life that we have. So,
I mean, I'm not going to complain about any of that stuff. You reminded me of a quote that I once heard, that sometimes people are pushed by pain until they're pulled by vision, you know. And it's interesting that a lot of us, I've been in a situation where I'm being pushed by pain a lot, and I have to take action from like a very vulnerable, fragile situation in my life, instead of like doing some healing, catching my vision of where I could be or how I should be, and then all of a sudden acting out of a position of confidence and posture. It's very, very different. You know, there's two people that are living a life that are faith-based, and there's people that are living a life of fear-based. You're living two different. There's no real middle point ground in there. It's either living by faith, living by fear. And my goal is to help other people get to live by faith, that they see things more of a, what they call, there's a term for it. It's called an inverse. I think it's called like an inverse paranoid. It's like somebody who like believes the universe is conspiring for you all the time.
Yeah.
It's like inverse paranoid. You know, you want to be an inverse paranoid, just say like, you know what, the world, God is conspiring with me, like, and everything that's good is always happening to me. But it takes a while to get to that mindset and for your subconscious to believe it too. You know? So, but yeah, if you'd like, you know, I know there's some people on here. If anybody would like to volunteer, go ahead on the chat. If you write down volunteer, I know Bob might be open to do a quick coaching session for you, and just kind of start a conversation. Like we're not here to like pitch you anything. We're just like, he can just help you to kind of, have you thought about this question? I think when I first saw your coaching live, Bob, I was so impressed with two things. One was, what's really important, that this is, I think, the foundational way you change people, is you have to love a person. Like you have to genuinely care for a person, you know? I think that's like the missing oil in like people's spokes that actually like fixes people. Like, you know, it's just love needs to be involved. Like I care about you, whether you pay me or not. I care about you. You're a brother, you're a daughter in God. Like I care, you know? The second thing that's coming up is giving the room for someone to analyze themselves, like a safe space where they can go with their thoughts and like kind of like open up the cobwebs, open up the potential ideas, and just giving them that room to breathe with their thoughts, you know? 100%. And I think in the movie Fight Club, which is a terrible reference, by the way, you know, shame on people who watch the Fight Club. No, I'm just kidding. But no, Fight Club, for example, Edward Norton said he was kind of the protagonist, but he kind of has some huge mental issues going on. But I just love the part where he says he's at a cancer place and he's dancing with this girl, and he's like, "Do you know what I love about these cancer places?" And she's like, "What?" He's like, "People are actually listening to you here." And then she finishes his sentence and says, and instead of just waiting for their turn to speak, you know? And that's true. When you're dying, people actually listen more. You know, they listen more. And I think that's the way, I mean, we don't have to picture like everyone's dying, but in one sense or another, quantum physics wise, we're all technically dying. But I just like that type of allowance of someone to be able to express themselves and not be quick to respond, just listen. And I think it's very powerful, you know? So yeah, powerful. If anybody would like, go ahead and comment on the section below in the chat here. I'll say this.
Yeah, would anybody like a breakthrough tonight? Would anyone like a coaching session? We are here and available for you.
Yeah, so if anybody wants to, just comment below, volunteer, and then we will pick someone at random, and then we'll just go from there. Because I know, like I said, it's even if we could just take 15 minutes with someone, you never know what breakthrough they might have. In fact,
could be huge.
It'd be a huge one. Yeah. I remember the guy that we did last time, Marty. I thought that was a really powerful. I mean, you were there. I mean, obviously you were the one doing it, but
Incredible. I mean, it was an incredible shift. Yeah. And by the way, you guys, it's scary. So just so you know, like part of my backstory, before I was even willing to go be certified as a coach, you have to be able to step in a room and be coached in front of all of your peers by the coach or by the peer that's coaching you, because we all have to learn how to coach to become a coach, right? Yeah. And when I understood that that's what people did, I'm like, you just go in there, you just start like burying your soul and like telling all the stuff and all the thoughts that you probably wouldn't share otherwise, just out in public. Like I couldn't even begin to fathom stepping into a room and doing that in front of a group of people. Like that just seemed like outside of my imagination several years ago. And it took me probably 2 years of like conditioning and counseling and coaching and other things to be willing to step into that space, that then allowed me to become a certified coach and now help men and women to, you know, have all these breakthroughs that I've helped over the last 3 years. But it's a vulnerable space. It's a scary space, and I treat it as a sacred space, of course, as well. So, but if anyone would want to have a breakthrough,
and this could be male or female, and if no one takes the opportunity to do this, then I'm going to have to get a session from you. Okay. So
sure.
I'm willing to put myself out there and do it. So we'll just wait one more minute. If anybody wants to volunteer, go check your chat on this and put volunteer. No one takes it. I'm going to take it myself, because hey, I need to be selfish to be selfless sometimes. I don't know if you ever heard that phrase before. You have to be selfish to be selfless, you know, because sometimes you're too selfless, you're helping people out, and then you have no oxygen on you. You know, you're just kind of, that's a problem, you know? So
in the meantime, I'm happy to share one more story too, that might be kind of fun. So I just coached a guy the other day that said, hey, I have a time management problem. And I said, oh, okay, well, tell me more about that. Well, as we kind of dove down a little bit deeper, it wasn't a time management problem at all. What it turned out that it was, so that there was something that he was quote unquote supposed to do, right? If you can imagine, like, here's my to-do list, I'm supposed to call this person back, you know, when I'm free. He had stuff to do in the morning, but then when the afternoon came and he had the opportunity to call them back, he didn't. Instead, he did this other thing. And so when we went to that place of like, okay, tell me about this other thing. What were you thinking, believing about this other thing versus what were you thinking, believing about this thing that you were supposed to have done, or that you were telling yourself you were supposed to have done? Well, it turned out this other thing seemed fun, easy, exciting, easy to build this connection, easy to relate to these other people. He's in a sales role in this company. And so he believed it was going to be easy to go make a connection, probably make a sale, easy to connect with them. And so it was, and something he was interested in too. So he went that direction, but then it was too late in the day to do this other thing that he had told himself the day before that he was going to do. And so as we explored that a little bit more, is that he was actually afraid of rejection, is that he didn't know where this other person stood. He was a little bit worried that if he had this call or you know, reached out to them, that the offer wouldn't be accepted. And so he was worried about the rejection piece of it. And so it didn't. So if you hold the two up like that, right, then it's like, okay, my brain chose to go this easy, fun route rather than the potentially dangerous, scary rejection path, because it's so normal as human beings to not want to feel rejection, right? That's a very normal human thing to not want to experience, right? That's so normal for all of us, for everybody, male and female alike, right?
Yep.
So it seemed just as clear as day to me as to why he would choose to choose this one over the other. But until we explored it and kind of uncovered it and like held it up in that safe, you know, space, then he wasn't able to see it. But now he is. So I think we created quite a breakthrough for him. So as you can see, it really wasn't a time management issue at all. It was a let me understand really where I am and how I feel about things, type things, so that I can choose more intentionally rather than allowing, I guess, emotions, if you will, to kind of dictate what I do. So,
And thank you for sharing that. And speaking about emotions, telling what you should do and things like that. I always tell people that the end game for energy work, in my opinion, is all about being responsive, not reactive. Because
mhm.
at the end of the day, if you're being reactive to your partner and you read Tony Robbins' book or Men Are From Mars or the Five Love Languages, try to remember chapter 3, page 26 on what it said to say to her, during that time. It's very hard because you don't even want to pick up that book. And you know why? Is because your emotions have taken the wheel. In fact, there's a really cool topic I want to share with everyone here. We might even kind of jump somewhere. I might even go because I think you're on TikTok. Are you on TikTok at all or not yet?
I don't think I've even logged in yet. I think I downloaded it and then I didn't get to actually log it in.
Okay. I have a TikTok. And there's not a lot of people there, just 20,000 people there. So we might go on there and just do a quick live there too. It's like, let's just have some fun, just bounce around. But the reason why there's 20,000 is because one video that I made had over 1.4 million views on it.
Wow.
And it was about a guest that I had on my podcast, and he talks about how emotional trauma changes you on a cellular level, and that reel went viral, like just crazy viral. And I think
Wow.
that's where my 20,000 came from, because everybody was like following me like crazy. But anyway, maybe we might stop over there. But I was going to just tell you that responsive versus reactive, there's a really cool thing, an interesting concept. It's called aspects of consciousness. Maybe I've told you about these, Bob, or because Bob used to be a client of mine, and he used
And
whatever
I'm
he
still a
knows.
client of yours too. Yeah.
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 So there's a thing called aspects of consciousness, and what's really cool about this is that picture, like when people think about conscious and subconscious work, they think about the tip of the iceberg, and then the bottom of the iceberg. The bottom of the iceberg is what sunk the Titanic, which is the subconscious, right? But what's interesting is that it's almost like you want to divide the lower part of this glacier into like little parts. It's not just this big old chunk. And what I mean by that is there's like a good army inside of us and a bad army inside of us. In other terms, in a fictional term, it could be a Jekyll and a Hyde, like multiple Jekylls, multiple Hydes, multiple Christ consciousness, multiple good consciousness. So there's these versions of us, right? Now the good ones are called permanent consciousness. The bad ones that need to like take a hike and take a train station out of here, they're called impermanent consciousness. So for example, let's say you have abandonment issues. You may have an aspect inside of you called abandonment consciousness. This is not a good one. This is one you want to get rid of. So I muscle test you to check what your level is at. What level are you from 1 to 10? Let's say your body says 2. The goal is to move to level 10, remove enough trauma to get to level 10 using the body code system. And then I kindly tell that aspect to leave. Because what happens is anytime you deal with abandonment, your body, it's almost like your regular conscious self turns off. And this version of you kicks in. And this version of you is being reactive, giving the silent treatment, escaping, fawning, fighting, just reacting. It's not really who you truly are. And people are getting the darkest side of you. It's not who you are at all. Now, if you remove enough from that aspect, now they're gone. The next time abandonment subject comes up, your present self still shows up to that conversation. So it's really cool. It's like, this is the type of stuff we're dealing with here. Like, that's great to know, but then would you like to know how to speak better to your partner? Would you like to know the best way for you to get engaged more physically, whatever? That's where Bob kicks in, because you need to know what to say. You need to know what to do, even though your body is ready for something. Does that make sense, Bob? Like, kind of like, you could be totally healed, but if you don't have direction, you don't know what to say, then you're kind of missing a major component to where you could bring your best version of yourself.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's just like our the analogy that we have with our program, right? Become the Captain is first you've got to know the direction, right? You got to know where you're going first and foremost. You got to know where you're going, right? You got to have a destination. All the wind in the world does a sailor no good that doesn't have a destination, right? So you got to have a destination. You got to know where you are currently, which means like, let's bring the stuff that's under the surface up above the surface so we can actually see and deal with it. So if this is always coming up for you, if there's always this defensiveness, if there's this like, abandonment type things, if you just feel triggered all the time, angry, defensive, or frustrated or whatever, and that's the place where you live most of the time, let's understand that a little bit deeper as to why that's there for you. So then we can deal with it. If we don't know what's there, then we have no ability to start to make changes to it. So let's bring that up. And then there's typically like a healing process. And what I found with that is we typically recognize that with the emotion, right? When we feel the anger, and by the way, this is just another little gold nugget for the people that are on the call, is anger is what I call a secondary emotion. There's usually an underlying emotion like sadness or fear or something like that, and then it gets masked with anger because anger feels more powerful and feels like we're kind of more in control in the moment. But if we can go underneath the anger, it's typically like, I was afraid, I was sad, and I didn't want to experience those things. But when we can experience those things fully, then we can start to heal from the process. And then the layer below that is when we start doing like the thought work, here's what you're believing, what would you like to believe instead? Let's align our thoughts with where we want to be, right? Let's start leaning into the person that we believe that we will be 3 years from now, and start having conversations with that person and actually getting advice from our future self 3 years from now, so that we can say, what would be the steps that you would advise me to take today, this hour, this minute, this day, this week, whatever it might be, to help move me in the direction of where you are. What would you say to me right now today? And that can be a really powerful thing to do. Yeah.
Deep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the program, my friend. That's what we do all throughout the program.
I
That's
know,
what we
but
do.
I'm still allowed to be amazed by it. I'm still allowed to be like, that's pretty cool, So,
Let's go. Let's go.
I know. So we have some good news. There's a really cool guy named Chad. He says he wants to volunteer, but he's multitasking, which
Man.
some men are very good at multitasking. Me, not so much.
Not so
But
much.
he's good at it. He's cooking dinner, But if something gets burned too much, it may be our fault, So
Yeah, Chad, I mean, could you dedicate full attention for just a little bit, for 10, 15 minutes, and see what we could uncover for you? I don't want to burn the dinner. I don't want to get in trouble.
Don't burn the chicken. You can't burn the chicken.
That's what they say on The Help, is that Millie don't burn chicken, right? So we don't want to burn the chicken.
Yeah. We'll see what he says. If he's like, hey, you know what? I just finished the chicken. I can put it in a plate, keep it warm.
Yeah.
Then we're good to go. But yeah, thanks for sharing also, kind of, I never thought about that. The secondary emotion. That is true. Like I can personally relate to that. I can personally relate to what's below the anger. There's always something else, And I also feel like it too, that when it comes to trauma, we'll see what Chad says in a second here. If Chad doesn't respond, then I'm guessing that he said 10 minutes works. Okay, here we go. Let's do it. Hold
jump on for 10 minutes. That'd be cool.
Yeah, let me see. Let's get him on here.
Sometimes you can get some pretty powerful shifts in 10 minutes. It's small and simple, man. It's small and simple.
Do you want me to put your timer on for you?
That was actually something we had to do to certify, was we had to build what's called a thought model within a 10-minute period with whoever we were coaching when we were going through coach training. So yeah, they taught us to it's like one skill to coach and another one do it quickly. Hey, Chad.
Yep. I didn't think I meant to take over. I thought I was just joining.
No problem. No, this is great.
We say that now. We'll see.
The multitasker.
Yeah.
Well, great to meet you, my friend.
Well, I'm just taking everything off the heat and turning everything off, and then that way I don't have to worry about it.
There you go.
There we go.
Yeah. What's funny about that is I did that the other day. I had the stuff cooking on the stove. I went out and made a YouTube video that I could then, blast out on social media or whatever. Totally forgot about all the stuff. And then by the time I came back in, like the alarms were going off and stuff was burned. I'm like, oh, there we go. So anyway, I don't know if that happened to you. Yeah. So so let me just start off with this, Mr. Chad, is there one area of your life that would be, helpful to talk about, or something that seems to be kind of top of mind?
Well, Manuel and I just finished a session right before this, and then he told me about this, so I figured I'd hop on and listen while I'm making dinner just to see what this is all about.
Awesome.
Straight from one to the other, and I think I put in the questionnaire, relationships, and then of course, work. I want to be more successful at work.
More successful work.
Yep.
Which one would be, so if we just focus on one tonight, what would be kind of more impactful for you?
Well, I would say relationship, because when your relationship's going well, then it seems like you have the confidence and you dedicate that to work. And if the relationship is struggling, then you kind of carry that baggage with you.
Mm. Yeah, so tell me about that. Is it your relationship with your wife or with kids, or which relationship?
Girlfriend. We've been dating for 3.5 years. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, what seems to be, where does the problem kind of come up for you, or where do you kind of notice the rub coming up?
I told Emmanuel my son's autistic, and he lived in Iowa. I lived in Wisconsin for the last 13 years, and I did the back and forth every other weekend with my son for 13 years. And when he turned 21, the public school system's done with them. And I was afraid mom would put him in a home. So quit my job, moved back to Iowa, just so I could help with his transition. And of course, my girlfriend lives in Wisconsin still. So when I made that decision, that caused some heartache, abandonment, and I was leaving her behind. And, the truth is I didn't know what it meant. I just knew that I had to do this thing for my son, that called a sacred contract, a bond, whatever, it's something that had to be done. And she understood, but it also didn't make it easy for her to accept, because now I'm 3 hours away, and now her and I are doing the back and forth every other weekend there and every other weekend here type of thing, trying to, keep it together.
Gotcha. Yeah. So what part of that seems to be coming up as kind of problematic? Like when does it seem to be, when does like the problem part of it come to the surface?
I think old triggers, she has abandonment issues, and obviously me leaving didn't, that caused that to flare up. My ex, probably my last 3 loves, exes, whatever, cheaters, and what would you say, feelings of betrayal. So I have a pretty high wall as far as letting anyone in, and I chose to let her in. And when I see the patterns, whether it's the texting or whether it's the phone going off late at night, those are triggers for me. And then of course, why is your phone going off at this time of night? Why is this? Why is that? And then it turns into like an investigation / interrogation, and we can't seem to have a conversation about it. And my approach is, I feel like I've tried every approach to it, but I'm not sure how you approach a situation like that. And she knows what triggers are. I mean, I've said this is what's happened in the past, and this is why it triggers me. Well, that's your issue. You need to figure that out.
Gotcha. So let me just make sure I'm clear. Is it your phone that's going off that then she doesn't like that, or is it her phone that's going off? It's her phone that's going off.
Yeah.
And when you say going off, give me an example. Is it in the evening time, or when was like the last time that was going on for you, where the phone was going off and it seemed to kind of spark something for you?
2 nights ago.
Yeah, tell me about that.
Just, put the son to bed, and I've got to drive. Actually, it might have been last night, because I had to drive back here 3 hours and then to Des Moines for work. So I had 5 hours ahead of me this morning, and had a up and down roller coaster of a day yesterday, because we were just starting to address some of these things, like really openly address them, which can be painful. And so we had that kind of day yesterday, and then she asked me to go to dinner and meet a guy friend of hers. And I said, okay, I'm going to put all the jealousies aside. My bigger self is going to show up for this. And I've never heard of this guy, don't know him, don't know, why they're in communication or whatever, but she met him on a plane, and he's in the kind of the spiritual realm as well. So they connected on that level. So I'm like, cool. And she asked if we wanted to meet for dinner at 5. And I said, sure. If this is important to you, it's important to me. And she said, thank you for that. And I asked if his wife was coming, and she said she didn't know. I'm like, okay, well, we'll go find out. So I get there, and of course, he brings flowers and chocolate. And I just, thought that was a little strange, and it was almost like I was a third wheel on a first date. It was awkward for me. So I had the, just whatever, it was very superficial conversation. So whatever conversation they had on the plane about deep spiritual stuff wasn't happening with me there. So then of course I'm analyzing it like, okay, if these two had this great conversation on the plane, why is this seems different now, So then when we left, she asked, how was that? And I said, seriously? It was awkward, it was hard for me to stomach, to be honest with you. And then of course she completely shut down, because it was almost like there's this rejection going on that, like I couldn't handle it. I'm like, no, I handled it really well. I need you to look at it from the other side. This is really strange, And so that kind of caused an issue. And, I just told her, I just said, I'm not mad. I'm concerned, because we're working through things right now. And yeah, I want you to have friends. I want to meet your friends, but I also don't want to bring people into the equation that are going to, cause issues between us or whatever. And I think she understood that. And, then things were fine for the rest of the night, and then got her son to bed, and then, the phone goes off, and it's, it might be midnight, it might be whatever. And it's just like, my fear, and I know it's, whether it's justified or not, but my fear is, who's texting at midnight? Why? Is this the person from dinner following up? What is it? And so I go to the worst place possible in my head, just because of the previous betrayals and things. So I definitely struggle with trust. She wants me to trust her, but I don't know, when you do things like that, it does lead to trust. Bringing me along, it's just, I don't know, this seemed a hard one to swallow, I guess.
Yeah. So let's just, for just a second, just create a little bit of space for the idea that if, like, as human beings, when we're with somebody, we believe that we're with somebody, I would venture to say that most of us wouldn't want our partner, the person that we're with, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, to go show affection or to seemingly kind of go elsewhere, right? And so even though we can't say this is a fact or whatever, but just normal human condition is to be like, hey, if we're together, I thought we were together. Like it's very normal to be in the space of like, you know what, having other boyfriends or other men or whatever in the picture could, you know, cause some concerns within that realm, right?
Right. And she has, and we talked about it, she has issues with boundaries because she's so open, so friendly, so, you know, save the world. I call it rainbows and butterflies.
Mhm.
And of course, she has boundary issues. So, but, you know, she wants to have healthy relationships. She wants to have guy friends that, you know, are healthy. And so that's what I thought this was. And that's why I'm like, yeah, you need to have, but then when he shows up with flowers and chocolate, to me, that's not a healthy boundary. And if you can't recognize that, and I have to point it out, then of course, then now I'm the bad guy.
Mm.
Like, you know, I don't know how else to say it, but it's poor judgment at best, you know?
Yeah. So let me ask you this, if you don't mind, is which part of that, of this experience kind of stands out the most, is like the most triggering for you, would you say? Would it be when you show up, he's got chocolates and flowers, or after dinner when she says, how was that for you? Or is it when the phone's going off later on? Which one seems to kind of bring up the most stuff for you?
The flowers were,
Uh-oh, did we lose him?
It's always when the good answer's about to show up.
Oh, Chad, did we lose you? Is that our 10 minutes?
Oh.
We're on the verge of a breakthrough. I wonder if his phone died or something, you know, the power.
You know, it's 11:46. Bob, if you can't fix it in 10 minutes,
We're not going to make it in this world. We're not going to make it.
You're just not qualified enough if you can't
I'm not
do
cut
it.
out for this thing.
No, hopefully he comes back. Let me see if I can invite him again.
Yeah, we are right on the verge of a breakthrough with that one.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what happened here. Give me 1 second. Let me see if I can remove him, and then I'll add him back again. Hold on. Maybe someone called him is what happened. Okay. I'm going to remove him, and then I'm going to add him up again.
All right.
I just removed him, and let me invite him again. And I have him via text, so let me see.
Yeah, this is a great topic. I mean, this is great because I mean, I think this would be something that would reach, you know, potentially all of us in different ways. Yeah, phone died.
Got it.
all right, I'm back.
Hey, there he is.
So triggered, I had to hang up.
I know.
No, it's like, yeah.
Yeah,
Put it
so
all
were you about to say
together.
it was when with the chocolates and the flowers?
Yeah, the flowers, because those are like a big thing for her. And I'm just not a flower guy. They die, you know, like I bought her a waterfall. I can't think of what they are, but, you know, things that don't die. And she has that in her apartment, and it's beautiful. But she loves flowers. And for the last 3.5 years, I've probably gotten her flowers 4 times, you know, like birthdays and Valentine's Day. But, you know, and then for this stranger, you know, that she'd met on a plane, and then this is the first in-person meeting. for him to show up with flowers, my brain says, how did he know? You know,
Mhm.
what's the backstory conversation that's led up to this point? So again, just the flowers were a trigger, and just seemed far too affectionate.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like high school sweethearts that hadn't seen each other for a while. I mean, you could tell he was obviously enamored with her, and she's beautiful. So I mean, who wouldn't be? But it just seemed, inappropriate. Like I said, inappropriate at best, and awkward. So it's kind of like, let's just let this play out and see what what this is, and then talk about it afterwards.
Yeah. So would it be okay with you if we go maybe a layer deeper? I think that's where you could have a breakthrough tonight.
Yeah.
So once again, like it would be very normal human being to be with your girlfriend and then have another man show up on a date bringing flowers, to have there be some thoughts and feelings around that, right? Like very normal. I'm sure I would have thoughts and feelings about that too, even without like a backstory or prior experience or any of that. So let's just give a little bit of recognition to that. But what would be most impactful for you is what you're making that mean about you, about the relationship in that moment. So if we go to that moment for just a minute, so he brings the flowers, what do you think you're making that mean about either your relationship with her or about you? Is there anything that comes to mind that way?
Yeah, the flowers not satisfying her needs, the fact that she is searching for I don't want to say male companionship, but male friends, male figures, because father figure wasn't great, previous husband wasn't great, and she's lost friends over politics, lost friends over religion, so I think she's the abandonment issues. And so I think she's trying to reconnect in healthy ways, but with men, it's, I don't know, we have to have they'd say you have to have your guard up as a woman, because most I don't know, you gotta get to know someone in order to trust them. And I think she's too trusting too soon, and that leads to all these heartaches, because you let the wrong person in, you're going to get let down, or you're going to be put in an uncomfortable situation, and then all men are bad.
So one thing I want you to notice too, which may help with even a breakthrough tonight, is so we were talking about you and kind of what you're making that mean, but then notice how your brain wanted to go to, here's all the things that are going on for her. And so there may be some elements of this relationship, I don't know, but we could explore that. But there may be some elements of this relationship where you may be staying kind of too much outside of your own power and trying to manage what's going on in her world and her abandonment issues, when that may be creating some challenge, I guess, for you within the relationship, and some undue maybe stress for you, like trying to manage something that's inherently outside of your power and outside of your control to do. Does that resonate with you at all?
Well, yeah, then someone being controlling, or lack of trust,
Yeah. So one thing you mentioned was the flowers, was that you're not satisfying her needs. Is that right? Is that one thing that kind of comes up for you?
Yeah, the flowers are like a guilt for me. Like, I should, if I know she likes flowers, then I should get her flowers, and my stubbornness probably goes back to, I bought flowers quite a bit for my wife when I was married. And so I think there's probably a little blockage there that, I don't want to repeat this pattern with someone new. Let's have a healthy pattern that's different, for my sake.
Gotcha.
So maybe in a selfish way, I'm avoiding the flowers, because that, probably triggers me to think about my previous marriage.
So there's already some stuff there, maybe that
Right.
from prior patterns and such. Gotcha.
Right.
Okay. That's even helpful to recognize, I think, too. So let's go one layer deeper if we could. Is let's say, so we don't know if this is true or not, but let's pretend like it is for just the sake of argument, that you're
Sure.
not satisfying her needs. What do you think you would make that mean about you if that were the case? What do you think you're making that mean?
Not good enough.
Mm,
You know, the inferiority, and we've kind of addressed that because we do dig deep into some emotional stuff. And my dad was very, I was a straight A student. I got 1 B+ in high school. And my dad asked what happened. You know, between my brother and I, 10 state championships. And, I don't know that he showed up to many of them, but I think between my brother and I, we were always trying to show him that we were good enough. He was like the military 1970s football wrestling coach. He was pretty tough, and I think we benefited in a lot of ways from it. And my brother was actually kind of messed up now. And I always thought he was just maybe weaker or couldn't handle it. But I think I'm realizing that those things affected me too, because if you don't feel like you're good enough for your own dad, then how can you please anyone else in this lifetime, So.
yeah. And it's interesting how why do you think that came up for you with this? Because we have like two totally different experiences, right? We've got our growing up years with our dad, and now we've got this experience on a date with our girlfriend and this other person. Why do you think your brain was kind of offering that up, even though it's kind of two totally separate situations here?
Well, for like with her, it's the fear of loss, but with and then
What are you afraid of losing?
relationship with her,
Yeah, what would that look like? What does that mean?
I don't know, abandonment, being alone, um, doing this on my own, and I've been doing it on my own for a long time, and got pretty good at it, but ultimately that's not how I want to live this life.
Mm.
I want to have a partner and a companion.
Yeah. And so if we take that for a minute, let's go back to the not good enough thought experience. So if we play that one out, when you believe that you're not good enough, how does that feel inside your body? Let's go to that place for just a minute. What's the emotion that comes up for you?
Just heartbreak.
Heartbreak?
Yeah, probably the heart walls. I've been reading a little bit about that, and probably a big one. And I've even described it. It's a brick wall, and it's over 10 feet tall. I'm 6'2", and it's 10 feet tall. And I just told her, I said, there's a big wall here, and you're gonna have to be a good climber because it's there for a reason.
And so when you're feeling the heartbreak, that sense of heartbreak, what do you see yourself doing from that place inside of your relationship with your current girlfriend? If you can kind of be in that energy for just a minute, think back.
Probably project, deflect, look at, analyze what the other person's doing. And, I don't know if it's a defensive thing, but, not, when you're in that place, it's almost like, I don't know how to describe it other than you almost go into a self-defense mode where it can't be me, it's got to be this, and then you start picking the other person apart.
Mm. So it's got to be her. Yeah. What else do you see from that place?
All the flaws.
Mm.
You start focusing on the flaws and the obstacles, the struggles, and you can't see the good in the other person, and you can't see the good in yourself either. It's almost like I think I described it as the death spiral.
So from that place, you said project, deflect. It's got to be her. Defensive walls come up to where it's like nobody's coming in.
Right.
You see all the flaws and the obstacles, and that you can't see the positive in yourself or in her either. Yeah. So what do you see? What do you see being created from that place, I guess, or as a result of all those things within the relationship?
Failure, ultimate failure. Like,
Mhm.
this can't continue,
Yeah. Yeah.
It's almost like, neither one of us would want to continue with it like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's almost like it doesn't even give it a chance for success because that's there, the walls, and then all the other things that kind of come from it, right?
Right. The baggage is, when things are good, they're good, but when things aren't good, you have to have I always said a willing partner and you have to be able to talk about those things. You have to be able to kind of work through them as a couple, as a partner. But, I think what the path I'm on right now is if I can't work through them myself and even recognize these things within myself and let those things go, how can I have a rational conversation with her about it,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then she's got her own things that she's working on, so then it,
Yeah. Yeah. What if we did this for just a minute and just played with the good enough concept to see if we could loosen it up just a little bit? Would that be okay with you if we do that?
Sure.
So what if is there any place in your brain, if we just opened up a crack of it to say, what if it actually meant the opposite? What if the flowers from that other guy in that moment actually meant the opposite in that moment to you? That you're totally good enough, and that's exactly why you guys are together. What if that were true?
I think I tried to convince myself of that at the moment that,
And it isn't about just trying to put like lipstick on a pig here or anything like that,
right.
but almost like what else could we make that situation mean that's just as true, but doesn't mean that you're not good enough? What else could you make that situation mean that's just as true and just as powerful, but the opposite of not good enough?
The opposite would be that, it almost sounds arrogant to say it, but this guy's got to try real hard to make an impression, I don't know.
Yeah, what else? What else could it mean that could be just as true in that moment?
That it's a good thing.
Something that's
maybe he's a good human being and he knows she likes flowers. And just wants her to be happy.
Yeah.
And they're just flowers.
And it sounds like, I mean, your brain went there pretty quick to where it's like it was able to offer you up some other thoughts about that situation. And that doesn't mean we even need to like the situation, right?
Right.
But what if it didn't? What if the flowers and the chocolate didn't mean anything about you at all? What if it had nothing to do with you in any way?
Right.
Where does your brain go with that one?
I think that's kind of where my brain settled in reality, that it had nothing to do with me. And it had to do with the insecurity of another man bringing flowers and chocolates, you know?
Yeah. How does that feel, I guess, to think about it that way instead? Does it seem different? Is it believable?
No.
Yeah, tell me about that.
Because I try and turn things around, and I just can't see myself being in that situation. You know, I can't. And I know a lot of guys, and I know a lot of girls, and maybe it's a culture difference. I don't know, you know, because I guess you're trying to justify it. But the bottom line is, I can't seem to make sense of it.
Well, and maybe part of the challenge is that your brain is that you didn't like the situation to begin with. And so now trying to convince your brain that we need to like the situation by just kind of flipping this around. But what if we didn't? What if we did both? What if we said, I don't really like the situation, and it doesn't have anything to do with me. The flowers and the chocolate have nothing to do with me. What if
Right. And that's the other thing that I do recognize. That was a choice he made. You know, if anything, I would say that's poor judgment for him, knowing that he's showing up, knowing that he's meeting me for the first time. You know, I think that says more about him than anything. So if I have trust issues, now I trust this guy even less, because that just seems strange. But, you know, South America, different cultures, maybe that's something you do. I don't, you know.
Yeah. So what if you fully believed that it was totally okay to not like the situation? Like, I don't like any part of this. And the flowers and the chocolate mean nothing about me. So what then? What would you do from that space? Or what would you be telling yourself from that space?
I think I have a blockage. You know, I don't like it. It has nothing to do with me. I guess what comes to mind is it seems careless to put me in that situation, but I don't think she planned that situation either. You know, that was, you know, obviously if she was making a plan for me to meet a friend, you know, them bringing flowers and chocolate would, you know, just be, you know, I don't think she's, you know, obviously didn't say, hey, bring me flowers and chocolate. I love flowers. But, you know, maybe she said she loved flowers in a comment, whoever, I don't know. So it's like, it's more of a uncomfortable, don't like the situation, and I don't understand everything. So it's like, you know, do I continue to get to know this individual and, you know, a second chance? You know, do you say it's okay for you to meet when I'm not in town? You know, it just, you know, it's the next step, you know. Survive the first one. What's the next step here?
And I would say it's less about survival and more about how can we find alignment with how would you like to feel in that moment, and then take action from that place, rather than here's a situation, I guess I just have to deal with it because, and now we're on to the next one. And if I just knew the right steps, then I could take those. So if we go back to this situation, instead of feeling heartbreak in that moment from believing that you're not good enough, how would you like to feel instead? Let's see if we can go there for just a minute.
Maybe, I don't know, be conversational about it, you know. That's a nice gesture, you know. How'd you know she loved flowers? I don't know. I don't know how you, but you almost embrace it in a weird sort of way, you know, find humor in it.
Is that
I like
still,
sarcasm.
let's say,
Authentic self.
so tell me, what's the emotion you'd like to experience in that moment? Would it be total confidence? Would it be powerful? Would it be alive, engaged, totally satisfied? What do you think you would like to experience that way in that?
I would say confidence, you know, confidence, because I think the wet doormat isn't attractive. You know, the jealous, crazy person isn't attractive. You know, the confident man is what's attractive, you know, and yeah, I think confidence first and foremost.
Can you go back to a time in your life, recent or even further back, where you felt just totally unstoppable, totally confident in yourself and what you're doing?
Yeah. But it almost felt like it came from a point of not caring. And so I think I have to learn to balance caring and caring too much, you know? So
it's like you're associating, so is that maybe some blockage there, associating confidence with not caring?
probably you know, not treating women in the past because you didn't care, you were confident in yourself and you weren't genuinely concerned or caring about them. You were self-centered, ego, all those things. And, finding the balance between, having the self-confidence, and maybe that's the balancing act I haven't figured out, having the self-confidence, and love of self, power of self, yet still being able to, care and love deeply about another person who you have absolutely no control over.
Yeah. So would it be okay if we try to do some energetic work tonight with all of that?
Sure.
So just for a minute, take a big deep breath, and everybody listening to do this can do the same thing. So what I want you to do is I want you to see if you can find that energetic place of total confidence, total empowerment, total alignment, and care. That I care about my girlfriend, I care about myself, I even care about this other individual. And breathe in through your nose for a count of 4, and then out through your mouth for a count of 8. And let's do that just a couple of times. And in through your nose for a count of 4, and out through your mouth for a count of 8. Are you in that place of like confident, I matter, what I want matters, these people matter?
Yep.
When you're in that, so from this place, is there anything different that you would have done in that situation, do you think?
Probably laughed, probably made a joke about it. And, I don't have to worry about you trying to steal my woman, almost just put it out there just to take the power away from it versus letting it give me fear, take that away by speaking and actually not in a harsh way, but just speaking my truth,
Mm-hmm.
even acknowledging, hey, I love this girl. I think she's the one. You're not trying to steal my girl, are you? I mean, if I go back in time and yeah.
What else? Anything else come up for you from that place of, I care about me, I care about people, what I think matters, what I think in this situation matters. I can be totally confident in who I am and in what I believe and in what matters to me.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else that comes up for you that you would have done from that place?
Not worrying about her reaction, not worrying about how she's going to receive that message.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like I'm, censoring myself before I speak.
Mm. And what about when the text messages are going off instead later that night, and you're in this place of power, of confidence? I care about me. What I think matters. What I care about matters. What would you do differently there? What would you be thinking differently there, if anything?
I don't have anything to worry about.
Mm.
And, and if I do have a serious question, just ask. I mean, if my phone was going off at midnight or whatever, I'm, who's texting you at midnight?
Mhm.
What's going on?
Yeah.
And not make assumptions, just speak.
Mm-hmm. And did you notice the shift in where you went from one place to the other? Like in one place, it's, she's doing this to me. I can't believe she didn't think about me. How could this guy do this and bring this? Like, what were they thinking? I feel like I've been set up. Now I'm worried about the phone going off. And then this other place, it's, I'm going to bring it up. I'm just going to share what's on my mind. I'm going to make a joke out of it. But it's where you hold what matters to you to make that matter to you and not expect someone else to make that matter for you.
Right.
Can you see that?
Defend yourself, defend your feelings, and have that, and have it come from a good place. You're not attacking anyone. You're not just, if something makes you uncomfortable, you should be able to say it makes you uncomfortable.
Yeah, yeah. And even the words defend and attack, just notice that language, almost as if we're already setting up for battle.
Right.
When all we really need to know is, hey, what I think about the situation matters. And if I don't like the situation, I get to say something about it. If I don't like this thing that I'm in, I get to do something about that, regardless of how you're going to think or feel about it.
Right.
I'm in the driver's seat always. Can you feel that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, what else? Anything else that coming up for you?
Don't be a wet doormat.
Can you see the difference in your relationship too? Can you see that coming from this other frame? How do you think that would change your relationship now and maybe even long term, even with the distance that exists between you and your girlfriend?
That that she matters, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Because if she didn't matter, you wouldn't say or do anything, so it's, letting her know that she matters. And
and what if you let you know that you matter more
in a
often?
weak manner, you know what I mean?
And what if you make sure that you let yourself know that you matter as well? That
Right.
your thoughts matter and your feelings matter and your perspective in this relationship and your life matters as well.
Right. See, I think I've had that voice in the past, and I think when I do, she has trouble with that. So I think this self-censorship is kind of I don't want to say beaten down over time, but just kind of slowly accepting this over time, and because I'm not telling myself the right things.
Mm. Yeah, because if it's always come up from a place of not good enough, which is disheartening, then all you're seeing is the bad in the relationship, the bad in you. And then, of course, all that's going to produce is the bad, the disconnect, the distance. She doesn't understand me. I don't matter to her. And yet we're in this thing that doesn't feel very good to either one of us, probably.
Right.
Yeah. And so if you can come with, I do matter, what I think does matter, and even these feelings. So this isn't the last time you're probably going to experience this, right? Like the not good enough coming up for you. That's where the healing part of this comes into play, and breathing into that's where, like, that breathing exercise, you can do that with the negative things that come, as well as what I do is I breathe right into it and give it life. And I remind myself, like, oh, that's right. It's from the belief of I'm not good enough. That's why this is coming up for me. But that's the place where we can stop it and allow it to flow through us, and then shift to a more powerful energy and align with more powerful energy, which will then create totally different actions and results in our relationship. Can you see that as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then hold that space of, I care about me, I care about us, I care about you, and yet I still get to make decisions from a powerful space for me, from what I think is best. Okay, my friend, is that helpful tonight?
Yeah, I got Emmanuel, we got some work to do.
Join the program, man. We'll get you all fixed up. No question.
I told
amazing work. This is amazing too, by the way.
Yeah, we had a great conversation before, and one of the things I did bring up to his attention is like that my favorite word, attunement. How much does your body believe in a statement? So then we can go back to him and we can say, like, I am important. How much do you believe that? 37%, move it to 100%. My words matter. Okay, you only believe that 19%, move it to 100%. Then the next time you go into your mind, your subconscious and your conscious are going to back each other up, and it's going to be showtime. And there's no fake confidence. There's no facade. It's like the real you shows up. So that's why Bob and I'm that guy in the ocean trying to beat up that lower part of the iceberg, and he's over on the top hitting the axe on the top, so that way you as the Titanic can just move forward. So that's the best analogy I can give right now.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm gonna go tackle dinner.
All right, man. So good to talk to you. Thanks for coming on, and thanks for going through that.
Yeah.
Really, really well done.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chad. All right, so let's go ahead and all right. Well, thanks, Bob, for doing that for Chad. I appreciate you, and let's if you got something from that, definitely let us know on Heal, or if this is going to be replayed on YouTube, comment below what was your favorite thing about this conversation, what stood out to you, and how can you relate it to yourself. In my church, they always say, liken the scriptures unto yourself. Reading about somebody 5,000 years ago really can't benefit you in the modern society unless you put yourself in the position of either the son or the father or the daughter or whoever is experiencing that, and be like, what would I have done? Who am I in this story? And how can I change the way I act so that I can be more of this person in this scripture? So the same thing in this situation, maybe you're the person that's more of his partner, or maybe you're the person that's him, and now you can kind of hear maybe what your partner is going through his mouth, through Chad's mouth, and this may open up your eyes, like, maybe that's not cool anymore. Maybe I shouldn't do that. Maybe I should work on my abandonment issues too, So this is all, everyone's learning, everyone's growing, no judgment. And, but thank you, Bob, for doing that for Chad. I appreciate that.
It's a privilege, such a privilege.
And so, so let's go ahead and end here. And then, but thanks again for all you do. I was following along with what you were doing with him, and it was so powerful how you kept kind of moving through the layers, doing the little breathing. Everything was so powerful. And this is just a glimpse of what's going to happen in about 24 days. 24 days.
Minus, yeah, here we go.
Minus 24 days. We are undocking, and we're doing a 90 days program. And imagine having Bob as an amazing certified life coach working with you. I think you get 4 appointments, I think, in the 90 days, but then getting group healing to back you up. Like, see what Chad hasn't experienced yet is we're going to get into relationships, and we're going to do 7 days of, let's say Chad's in the program, 7 days of healing with him for that relationship, 8 hours a day. On top of that, what Bob just spoke about, he's going to be a different person after those 7 days. Facts.
Yep.
You know?
100%.
And so I'm
100%.
excited. Thanks again, everybody, for tuning in. I appreciate you. I always like to end on a good on my podcast. I always end on this note, and I want to share with you guys. I just say, everyone wishes that, like, hey, if I take care of you, you take care of me. You know, everyone thinks that way. But if we just take care of ourselves, then we can authentically help others out as well. And if we can change ourselves, we can change our home, we can change our city, and we can eventually change the world. And so thanks, guys, for tuning in. And we will see you guys next time on Thursday, 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We'll talk soon. Take care.
Thanks, everybody.